Let's talk about sport. I'm an athlete, and as my courage project for 2026, I want to talk more about sport and my sport experiences and my take on sport. Today is day 2, and yesterday I feel like I told not like a serious story, but just like what I wanted to do with this. So today I wanted to tell a wild story. Over the past 3 days, I've been listening to a book on Jeffrey Epstein, and I find there to be some similarities between just the culture that he was allowed to live within and the culture of sport, that there's just powerful people and they let things go. So as I was listening to this book the other day, it brought up a memory of this story. And I'm not saying it's as bad as Jeffrey Epstein stuff, but it's just a reminder of a culture that's pervasive within sport. There was this coach growing up from another club that was also a national team coach. And for a long time, he always just was in the gray zone. So it wasn't too inappropriate, but it was mean and not kind and just was very close to the line a lot of the time. That ended up changing, but I digress. When I was growing up, his club was very, very high performing. So they had a big club and he always had national team members and they were very, very good. The quality was very high. And then as I became an adult, I don't really know exactly when, but something definitely shifted in the types of kids that they took into their program. They were older and just the overall quality went down. It just wasn't a focus on high performance like it was before. They always had high performers, but it just wasn't a huge program with high performers like they had before. One of the girls I used to train with then coached there, and we were coaching together at a competition. We were both the team coaches for an event, and I had some kids on the team, she had some kids on the team, and I had asked her, I said, we were decent enough friends, and she didn't like her head coach, who was this man, and was very open about it, but she still worked there and still trained there. And I said, what changed? What the program was 10 years ago is so different than what the program is now. Why the change? Not that it's good or bad, it's changed. And she said that they used to pick kids very much based on talent, and that there was a certain aesthetic that people pursued, which is very common in gymnastics, and that in the last couple of years the head coach did change how he chose kids to come into the program. And I said, well, what's the parameters now? Because we all know what the old parameters were. That's how everybody picks kids for their program. So what are the new parameters? And a reminder, this is gymnastics, so there's so much emphasis on being young and starting the sport when you're young, because it is just easier. So he said his new parameters, this girl told me, his assistant coach told me, that he wanted them to be between 12 and 14, which is generally considered older for gymnastics, and that he wanted them with no sport experience, weird, and then, quote, the more broken of a home that they come from, the better, so he can, quote, change their lives. Now, cut to last year. Is this coach banned from coaching any kids under 18 and no kids with any trauma over 18? Yes. So we've known that this has been a problem forever. He lasted a really long time. But it just it frustrates me now to see this, because she said that it was nothing. It wasn't a big deal. It was common. That's just how they picked kids. What a gruesome way to pick kids. You're picking extra vulnerable kids to control them. And my main issue is that it was an open secret, and that's the problem with a lot of these sports things. When something goes down like that, when this coach got banned, everybody knew. Everybody knew. That had to have been at least 10 years before that. She told me that's how they pick their kids. That's not a club with a positive environment or a safe environment, if that's how you're picking your kids, and you're willing to say that. If that's what you're saying, then what are you saying behind the scenes? And the ironic part is that this secondary coach that told me this story, she ended up leaving, and then she went back before all this went down a couple years ago. So she went back to the scene of the crime, and she was fine with it. Okay, actually, I changed my mind, and I want to change my question. My question is, how do we un-normalize this behavior? So if this was an open secret, and I feel I have 400 examples of these open secrets that everybody knows, and then when it comes to people are but it's we all know. We all talked about it. I've told this story to 100 people before he went down. So how do we un-normalize this behavior? Like I said, this girl continued to work there. Why is she still working there? Why is she still supporting this coach? because it's normalized. So how do we unnormalize this behavior?